Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining our 78th live town hall here in Douglas County. Tonight is a real night of gratitude. We're talking a lot about our Douglas County Homeless Initiative, and this is really about celebrating your success and how we have worked so well with you in the community to ensure that we have reduced overall homelessness. Douglas County is one of only two counties in the entire state that has actually reduced overall homelessness, and that's because of your commitment and partnership with all of us in this Douglas County Homeless Initiative. I remember so clearly during COVID doing a cleanup of my district with the Lone Tree Sustainability Clean team and picking up trash with my son, who I guess was 11 or 12 at the time. And we encountered an encampment at that Target right at Lincoln and Yosemite, and it was liquor bottles and drug paraphernalia and even little girls' underwear, really inappropriate things. My son was like, "What is this, Dad?" And that's something that I think most kids in Douglas County aren't used to seeing, maybe in other places. And we've certainly heard about the challenges in Seattle, San Francisco, Portland, where really significant communities have become overrun with the challenge of homelessness. So, from that point forward, I'm really pleased and honored and want to recognize my two colleagues, George Teal and Commissioner Laura Thomas, for agreeing to move forward on what is now the Douglas County Homeless Initiative. And I'm really pleased to talk tonight a little bit more about the four C's. Here in Douglas County, we lead with compassion, but closely follow that with code enforcement, community services, and communications. And some of the success we've seen is right here represented in the room. And we're going to talk a little bit more about them and introduce them. But our Har Team, our Homeless Engagement Assistance Resource Team, has just been tremendous. And we've recently gone from 3 teams to 5, and really operating on a pretty much 24/7 basis where calls do immediately get picked up by a live person. That really gives our citizens the opportunity to call that Heartline and get a real person. And if you're not familiar with Heart, it's law enforcement paired with a navigator, somebody trained in behavioral health services that goes out to a call together and ensures that people in need receive the services that they require. But also you have law enforcement there to protect that navigator and ensure that if that individual is justice involved, that it's addressed appropriately. We also have with us our Douglas County Community Foundation, and I want to just especially highlight our executive director, Mike Wade. If you've seen the 70 signs throughout Douglas County that say handouts don't help, that's really that communication saying, hey, we want to give, but give appropriately to a trusted community foundation where 100% of the dollars are going right out to our nonprofit partners like food banks and folks providing food and clothing opportunities for those that are struggling out there. Again, on those signs, if you just go to that URL, instead of giving at intersections, which is not safe for you or the person asking for those things, you can give directly to our community foundation. But not only are we celebrating that huge reduction in overall homelessness, but we're also hearing that panhandling has all but dried up in Douglas County. We're going to continue to fight as a board, and I hope I speak for all of us in saying we're going to keep going until we get to functional zero. But it's because of you and your work to give to the community foundation and trusted nonprofits instead of rolling down your car window and giving out of the door at intersections. It's not happening here like it used to. We have a whole lot to talk about tonight, including meeting members of the Har Team and hearing some of their stories out on the streets with some of this data. We'll also talk about the intersection of homelessness and the national migrant crisis that our country is experiencing. But for now, I'll turn it over to our chairman, Commissioner George.
Well, thank you very much, Commissioner. I want to start tonight by congratulating our community partners for coming together to begin solving a very complex issue. And I will admit that I thought this was an issue too complex to be solved here at the local level. And I was very much a doubter when Commissioner Layden proposed these programs that have actually worked here in the county. So, Abe, thank you for your leadership on this. Thank you for your giving the sales pitch and not taking no for an answer and getting me on board, because during tonight's call, I think we've got some really good news to share on the work that has been accomplished so far here in the county. And then, of course, acknowledgement of the challenges still lie before us that we are still working on. But during tonight's call, we actually want to hear from you. If you're joining us on the phone, please press *3 on your telephone keypad to ask a question or tell us your feedback. For those online, please submit your questions or feedback into the dialog box, and our moderator will read it out loud. For those of you with us in the room, when we get to the portion for taking questions and comments, please raise your hand and we will bring the microphone to you to ask your question or provide your feedback. When you don't have the microphone, the folks who are joining online, they can't hear you. And we want to make sure all voices are heard. Commissioner Thomas, take it away.
Thank you, Commissioner. And thank you all for joining us tonight as we talk about a couple of difficult issues. You have likely seen the migrant crisis on the news. About 40,000 migrants have arrived in Denver, more per capita than any other community, according to the New York Times. The first thing we want our community to know about this issue is that we are compassionate, and we understand why people want to migrate to America, and especially to Douglas County. We also want people to understand that our resources are limited, and we are working to balance our compassion with those limited resources, as well as the safety of our community. We'll talk more later in the evening about how Douglas County is addressing this national issue. So please stay tuned. Roger?
All right. Thank you, commissioners. We do want to get to your questions tonight. So as you've been told, if you would like to ask a question from the phone, press *3. Please press *3 on your telephone keypad, and you will be transferred to an operator who will take down some basic information. We encourage you to get in line early because we'll be getting to questions pretty quickly. Once the operator has your information, you'll be returned to the call and can listen to the conversation until it's your turn. And then when I call you your name, please repeat your question for our live audience. Again, if you're online, enter the question or comment in the dialog box, and I'll read it aloud when the time comes. And if you're here in the hearing room, please raise your hand and we will bring you the microphone so everyone here in the room, online, and on the phone can hear your question or comment. And since we'd like to hear from as many people as possible, we'll ask you to limit your time to just one question so that we can get to as many folks as possible. So now I'm happy to turn this back over to Commissioner Layton. Go ahead.
Great. Well, thank you so much. So we have a lot to share with you tonight. So again, thank you, Roger. As we mentioned, helping those in our community who are experiencing homelessness has been a countywide effort that includes many partners, and many of them are here tonight. And if you would you please join me in a round of applause for the Douglas County Homeless Initiative Executive Committee? We have municipal representation from all of our cities throughout the county, and we also have nonprofits, faith-based partners. Our AD Works representative is here leading the charge on self-sufficiency, Maria Chano and Artie Lang from the Housing Partnership. We have Dan from Help and Hope, Aaron from Cherry Hills Community Church, and Manna, and really want to just acknowledge all of those folks. On the panel, we also have Jeff Garcia, our county attorney, who's helped us navigate these sometimes tricky legal waters. Tiffany Marcito, our heart navigator. Dan McKelkey, our director of human services. Jennifer Eby, the assistant director of community services, who basically pulls together our agenda and produces and orchestrates all of the great work that happens during our homeless initiative. Thank you, Jen. Mike Wade, the executive director of the Douglas County Community Foundation, and of course, Chief Michael McIntosh from the Douglas County Sheriff's Office. Thank you all for being here. So with that, we'll go into our discussion about the 4 C's, if you'll join us in that journey. So when we set out on this mission, again, we decided to address homelessness with those 4 C's: compassion, code enforcement, community services, and communications. In 2022, we launched that Har Team, the co-response team specially trained to help people experiencing homelessness. HART is funded 100% through grants, including grants for a 2024 expansion from 3 to 5 co-responder units. These additional units will allow for extended weekday hours and weekend coverage starting now. With that, I'll turn it over to Tiffany Marcito. A little additional information.
Thank you, Commissioner Layden. As Commissioner Layden explained in the beginning, HART stands for Homeless Engagement Assistance and Resource Team. Our community navigators are partnered with local law enforcement. We proactively go out into the community and offer assistance and resources to those who are unhoused in Douglas County. Our community navigators are subject matter experts in homelessness care systems, behavioral health, and case management. Some of the resources that we offer to people and connect them to are benefit assistance to DHS, community food banks around the county. We help individuals navigate transportation systems like the RTD bus station, along with getting them connected to housing resources through the Douglas County Housing Partnership, along with other resources in the region. I do want to talk about a few success stories that we've had on our team, and I'm going to start with Ryan. Ryan will be speaking at our next Homeless Initiative meeting, so we hope that you all join us at that meeting next month. But Ryan began experiencing homelessness in October of 2022. His life was going downhill fast. He had been going through a divorce. He lost his job, was soon to lose an apartment. He picked up his belongings and he just left. He found a secluded area where he set up a tent sleeping bag on an overpass, and he just lived there. He was trying to figure out his life and get it back together. And it wasn't until June of 2023 where he reached out to a local nonprofit. They submitted a referral to the Har Team, and one of our navigators, Will Carpenter, and Deputy Brad Schramm responded to Ryan and assessed his needs, asked him questions about what his barriers have been, and they said, how about the Bridge House program, the Ready to Work program in Aurora? And it's a workforce program that also houses individuals, gets them to work immediately, and helps them get back on their feet so they can afford an apartment of their own after their program is done. About 2 months ago, I received a call from one of the executive director of the Ready to Work program, and he had said that Ryan was going to graduate the program. And he was very excited. He wanted to share that with us because they haven't had a graduation in a long time. This is a commitment that individuals need to invest in, and they need to invest in their sobriety and their commitment to work and be on the right path. And he also mentioned that he is going to offer Ryan a job at the shelter. And Ryan was a leader from the very beginning and really wanted to help his peers navigate the shelter and be that mentor for others who were just entering in the shelter. So kudos to Will and Deputy Brad Schramm for getting this individual to the right program to help him succeed. The second story that I wanted to share was the Har Team received a referral from our partner CRT. They're the crisis response team here in the county. And they came across a veteran from the Army who was experiencing homelessness, was going through some mental health issues, newly homeless, didn't know how to navigate the system. So we made sure that he was connected to the VA, the Volunteers of America, and within 2 months, through the Volunteers of America, he was housed through a rapid rehousing program through them. He was also connected to case management so he could further his sustainability in his own apartment and help him navigate what life looks like on his own, because he did not know how to navigate that due to his mental health issues. So those are the two success stories that I wanted to share, and I will bring it back to Commissioner Layden.
Tiffany, thank you so much. And I think every time we gather as the Homeless Initiative, we get to hear stories that you really encounter day to day. And it's so meaningful that, these changes are happening right here in our midst. I would say if anybody takes something specifically away from this meeting tonight, the number one thing is the phone number for the Har Team. So I'm just going to share that with you. If you see someone who would benefit from HART, please call 303-660-7301, or you can just visit douglas.co.us, search HART, and you can fill out an online form. As we help those in need, we also have a duty to the safety of our community. We won't become victims of our own compassion like we've seen in other cities throughout the country. And that's where code enforcement comes in. We help businesses with the resources to protect their property and did implement as a board a countywide camping ban. To talk a little bit more about that, I'll turn it over to our county attorney, Jeff Garcia.
Thank you, Commissioner. In 2023, Douglas County adopted a camping ban. Following some legal changes that were occurring across the state and across the United States, an enforceable camping ban became a little bit more able to be applied without some of the legal challenges that have been seen elsewhere in the United States. The goal was to make it simple and clearly understandable for anyone who needed to understand that they couldn't camp on county property. What it is on county property, that is property owned by the county in unincorporated Douglas County. A party cannot camp there. They cannot set up tents. They cannot sleep there. And the goal was not to write tickets. The goal wasn't to make a situation worse. The goal was to offer assistance. And part of the ordinance is that you must be offered assistance. And if you refuse assistance, then there's a violation. So a Har Team member or a member of the Sheriff's Department would contact someone on county property, offer them assistance, whether it's access to a shelter or some travel accommodations. And if they decline that, then there'd be a violation punishable up to $1,000 by fine, where they would still need to move along. So the goal is to make sure that people are getting engaged to find help. And we're encouraging other communities and municipalities around the state to do the same.
Jeff, thank you for that. And I want to recognize and acknowledge our municipalities within Douglas County who are also all phenomenal when it comes to leadership and coordination with the county. And one of the conversations we've been having is about ensuring we have camping bans throughout not only unincorporated Douglas County, but also in the municipalities so that we don't see a bleed over into those incorporated areas. And, we've talked about reclaiming our public spaces. That's what this is about. When our Douglas County Economic Development Collaborative sponsored a site selection conference in downtown Denver, we all met at Mile High at the stadium, and we heard from international site selectors. And they said to us, Denver's a great place. It's wonderful. And then when we pierced through the platitudes and said, well, why wouldn't you come to Denver? Just cut it straight. They said, it's your homeless problem. And they were very clear about that. So we know it's an economic development tool as well. When we have clean, safe spaces, we're caring for people, but we're clearing out encampments. I want to recognize a guest that just joined us, Councilwoman Laura Hefta from Parker, who also is a member and attends all of our Douglas County Homeless Initiative meetings. So that's a good example of our municipal partnership. Let me turn it over to Chief McIntosh to talk about enforcement. And again, *3 if you want to get in and ask a question. Chief?
Thanks, Commissioner. One of the things that the sheriff's office is fortunate to be able to do is to be able to do this enforcement with compassion. The way that this program was set up is really because of the compassion that is shared and that is shown. Most of the time, our enforcement is no more than just ensuring that we can try to get resources to the people that we come in contact with. This Har Team and the makeup of it and the collaboration that we have throughout the Douglas County community really kind of sets us up for success when it comes to the enforcement side. We've got ordinances that have been passed that gives us kind of the ability to enforce something if we needed to, but compliance is really what we're looking for. And more often than not, that's exactly what it is that we're seeing. And it's because of the skill of the navigator and because of the skill of the deputies that are put in those positions. When we select folks to work in those positions, we make sure that they understand what it is, what our goal is from a heart perspective, to be able to ensure that we are really not looking to arrest people or to write tickets to people. What we're really looking for is to make sure that we give them an avenue for resources in the community to help them with whatever it is that they're dealing with.
Chief, thank you for that. And we have an amazing sheriff in Darren Weekly that is really committed to our Douglas County Homeless Initiative. And Chief makes a good point. We're not trying to arrest our way out of homelessness, but there are those that are justice involved, and our law enforcement is dealing with that. But what's amazing about our Har Team is right now we have about 40 total unsheltered homeless. And our Har Team knows pretty much every one of them by name. So it's the dignity of knowing their name and who they are, and then really trying to analyze the situation and address it. And I just wanted to add, this is one of those tricky spaces in the homeless arena that is difficult because most citizens feel conflicted when they see that person at the intersection with the sign, and it may say, "God bless," or "I'm a veteran," or "I just need $1." And there's that thing that twinges in all of our hearts of saying, "Man, maybe he just needs $10, or maybe he just needs a meal." And the problem is that you don't know where the resources are going, and then it's dangerous for them to interfere with traffic and for you to roll down your window. My 17-year-old daughter at the time wanted to give out care packages out of the window. I think a lot of us would probably have some concern about, our sons and daughters just rolling down the window at an intersection. The Har Team is great because as citizens, you don't feel like you're calling law enforcement to go arrest somebody. You're calling a compassionate team to address people with first the dignity of their name and then to provide them services. So thank you, Chief. That's what you're doing is really great. I'd like to pass it to Commissioner Teal because I know we gotta get some questions in.
And I believe we have a phone question. Roger?
We sure do. Let's hear from Nicole first. Go ahead. You are live.
Hi, my name is Nicole Bishop. I am a social worker. I work on the front lines with our vulnerable populations. I have a master's degree in social work. I work for the Office of Respondent Parent Council, and I also have my independent LLC called Action and Advocacy. And my question is, does Douglas County plan to add any more housing vouchers or public housing assistance within the county itself? Because I will tell you, as a social worker of the last 25 years, Douglas County is one of the most difficult counties that I have come in contact with to be able to house my clients within the county. And even when your representative from Hart was discussing, she was discussing programs that are outside of the county. I know that the workforce center is pretty close. So it's just right there on the borderline after Parker Road, but I'm not hearing really any services within the county itself to help the homeless population as well. And I am not totally convinced that the camping ban is really not doing any harm to those persons who are homeless out on the street. It forces them into some dangerous situations where maybe they're moving along, but are they really being served? And I just have some questions around that. So mainly, what sort of resources are we bringing into the county, if any? Are you planning on expanding the number of housing vouchers to homeless citizens? Are you planning on starting any sort of public housing within Douglas County?
Okay, well, that's a great question. And I really appreciate it, Jen. I know this is stuff that you track very closely in your work. Can you address the housing vouchers, expanding affordable housing, and share some of the work that we're doing here in the county and the facts as we know them?
Sure, Commissioner, thank you. I'm happy to do that. Thank you for your question. I think that's an excellent question. This is a concern that we have had in Douglas County as well. The number of housing vouchers that are available is limited, and that is limited largely by the amount of federal funding that is available for those. We are working very closely with our Douglas County Housing Partnership, and they have begun to administer and provide assistance for those who have vouchers already, who already have a voucher that they're utilizing. And we also have, I mean, to your point, we have a lot of people who would like to take their voucher from someplace else and bring it into Douglas County. So we understand that there is a high need for that, but there is limited resources available for that. We have not been able to get additional vouchers for, well, the 20 years that I've been at Douglas County. So it really is limited to the federal funding. On the homeless side, there are some things that some resources that we can tap into. If somebody meets the criteria, actually our heart navigators are all trained on doing an assessment. It's a very thorough assessment tool that is done. And if that person is considered a high priority for a voucher, then they will put that into their kind of statewide system. And if that person is able to, if they're at such a high priority that they can come up on the list, then they are provided a voucher. So there are some housing vouchers that are available through that kind of statewide system. And I know that the Heart Navigators have been able to access a couple of those with some of the clients that have higher need and are a high priority for that. Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
There are some additional resources. I know you spoke to resources. We're going to talk some more about what the Homeless Initiative has done to try and build those resources along the housing and shelter lines as well.
Yeah, and I would just add, I want to be really direct and really clear, Nicole. I appreciate and respect the profession of social work and the incredible efforts that you labor within, but we do have a philosophical difference in Douglas County that is working very well here. There has been a federal philosophy around housing first, and unfortunately, when you have housing without case management and wraparound services, you're basically just giving a person who might have a mental illness or a substance abuse problem a place to overdose. So we really believe in having full wraparound services. The other issue is we have only about 4% or less of the Denver metro region's total homeless population. So for us to erect a facility in the middle of Douglas County when our numbers are that low doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And we also don't want to incentivize sort of an inverse relationship with self-reliance. Part of what we do is we're working very closely with the Goals facility, which does provide a family intake opportunity for those that are experiencing struggles from a housing standpoint. The Board of County Commissioners has invested in the Aurora Navigation Campus in partnership with area counties, and those vouchers are significant. And I would say, and I would ask the Har Team to ring in on this, but what we have found, just from an evidence-based standpoint, is that there are about 20 to 30% of those they engage with that are asking for services, and pretty much 100% of those will receive services of some sort. The real problem in homelessness are the 70 to 80% that are service resistant, and then the percentage of the service resistant that are actively committing crimes, whether it's littering, urinating in the middle of intersections, they're interfering with traffic, or they have outstanding warrants. So part of our philosophy is not a free-for-all homeless first perspective. It really is citizen focused and reclaiming our public spaces. Unfortunately, in places like Seattle, San Francisco, Portland, people have become victims of their own compassion. And when there isn't a camping ban in place, you have individuals that do take advantage of the system, and it creates almost a public health crisis when people are camping in the middle of sidewalks and businesses can't operate. So we try to be honest about those scenarios and avoid that here. Tiffany, what would you add?
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that about 35% of the individuals that we come in contact with do want some kind of resource, whether that is being connected to DHS or some other program. Most individuals are from the Denver metro area and they're not looking to go back to the shelters up north. So our team tries to find creative solutions on how to get them to a safe spot, whether that is reconnect them with family members who are in another state. We've had multiple faith-based communities help us get bus tickets or plane tickets, even gas vouchers for individuals to get to their safe support system. We have limited hotel vouchers that we can bridge the gap if somebody needs to be connected to a program and they're unable to get there that day. We try to find as a creative outlet with the limited resources that we have here in Douglas. But we do rely on the Denver metro area for a broader range of services if somebody wants to be in that community. And we make sure that they are connected to case management and that we're just not dropping them off at a shelter if they're not wanting to go that route. So we make sure that we do a warm handoff with case management if somebody is wanting to seek a shelter in the area.
All right. Well, Commissioner.
I was just going to say the last caller had a question about the camping ban. And so far, the camping ban has been used as a way for the Har teams to go and talk with someone in that space, but there's nobody that's been moved out of there against their will or put someplace that was inappropriate. So I just wanted to answer that question that the last caller had asked about. And I think Roger has an online question.
Okay, here's a question from Mark. He asks, what is the policy for Douglas County when confronted with illegal immigrants?
Okay, good question. Jeff, I saw you reaching for the mic, so you might be up first.
My lesson. So we treat them under the status that they have. So if someone is here illegally, then they are here illegally. The county has adopted the same federal policies and the same state policies that are in place, where there are state policies right now that seek to assist people to stay here illegally. The county has been very forward in that regard and has challenged those or adopted applications of our own ordinances to address them. But our policy is to treat those who are here illegally as if they were here illegally.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. And Roger, do we have a phone question?
We do. We have a question from Nicole. A second, Nicole. Go ahead.
Hi there. Thank you for taking my call. First, I'd like to just say thank you to all the commissioners in this educational conversation that we're having, because I do feel like there's a lot of fear behind what's happening in Colorado right now. So I got actually three parts to my question. The first is my husband's actually in the roofing contractor world, and every day he'll see lines and lines of people either at Lowe's or Home Depot that they're asking for work and they're looking for jobs. And so what my first question, part of my question would be, how do you respond to that, or how should we be responding to that? And my second part of my question is, are we finding that this homelessness / migration is draining resources from the county? Are you seeing that? And the last part of my question is, what are we doing different that's causing us to be so much more successful than what you're seeing in other counties like Denver?
Okay, excellent question. Abe, you had an idea on how the first part, and we've got a guest from 80 Works. And let me get out there with a microphone.
Yeah, and as he's doing that, it's Sasha Easton, our director of Arapaho Douglas Works. And we often say here that the best form of welfare is a job. When somebody can encounter workforce opportunities, self-sufficiency is usually the outcome.
Well, Sasha, can you help us answer that question, please?
Yes, so good evening. My name is Sasha Easton, and I'm the director of Arapaho Douglas Works Workforce Center. And we connect job seekers to meaningful employment and work with businesses to help their talent pipeline needs. The question is regarding individuals experiencing homelessness. And so we really try to employ an individualized, customized approach to ensure that we're mitigating barriers and ensuring the individual is on a pathway to self-sufficiency. And that is done through a variety of resources and career services. For example, we offer a variety of workshops on emotional intelligence, financial literacy, budgeting, job assistance and job applications. We also provide one-on-one assistance in career navigation in assisting them with data on the current labor market. We also allow them access to our events, our job fairs, our networking opportunities as well. For those that are eligible for our programs, we offer, and this was part of the question as well, we could assist with occupational training leading to a credential, as well as access to work-based learning, registered apprenticeships, internships, and then we also offer supportive services, which might entail housing and rent assistance, transportation assistance, and then work supplies like boots or clothing to help them be successful on the job. We also have staff at Arapaho Douglas Works that are specialized and trained in serving individuals experiencing homelessness, as well as serving homeless veterans. So we really try to do that holistic wraparound approach. And then, of course, we partner with our community partners, those that are speaking today, to ensure that there's a broad network of resources and support.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Sasha. I appreciate your help answering that question for our caller. Ma'am, thank you for that question. Abe, why don't you take us into that next segment, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So in addition to, the business work in locating people to appropriate jobs, the next piece is, talking a little bit more about the Handouts Don't Help campaign. And we do have Mike Wade here with our Douglas County Community Foundation to talk a little bit more about how that campaign has operated. Mike?
Thank you very much, Commissioner Layden. I'm Mike Wade with the Douglas County Community Foundation. We are absolutely honored to be the fund partner with this program. Basically, in a nutshell, instead of offering services through your window, which, as Commissioner mentioned earlier, cannot be the safest environments, we offer the opportunity for those who want to be philanthropic with their dollars and help with this issue, have a source to do so. So basically, as people go to douglashasheart.org or follows the information on the Handouts Don't Help signs, when they make their donations online, 100% of those donations made, I just really want to stress this, 100% is then returned back to organizations in Douglas County who are working towards homelessness issues. Douglas County Community Foundation is the facilitator of that fund and a partner in this program. And if possible, if I could share a really cool success story from this program that we've had, not only is the success the fact that to date, including a donation received this morning, we've received $9,250 that is being returned back to those organizations in groups of 2,500 at a time. But we've received donations that have ranged from $5 to $1,000 towards this program. Now, specifically, the success story and something I'm very proud to have received was, one day after receiving a $100 donation online, I received an email from an individual. Now, this individual did ask to remain anonymous, so I'm not going to give that information out. But this individual was someone who was impacted by the Har Team. They were homeless. The Har Team helped them find services, and with their first paycheck in their new job, they made a $100 donation back to the program. That speaks volumes of the success and the relationship that these givers give to those who are in need. So we are very, very honored to be part of this program.
So the other thing to take away from tonight, you got the Har Team phone number, 303-660-7301 to call Hart. Don't forget Douglas County Community Foundation, dccf.org. If you don't give money out at intersections, you can know that by giving to the Community Foundation, 100% of your donations go to the right place. I just wanted to loop back briefly. I know that we heard from Sasha Easton briefly, and we heard from Jen a little bit too, but we also have a few of our friends from the nonprofits here, and I don't know if Aaron or Dan from Help and Hope or from MANA have any additional thoughts or input around the work of the nonprofits.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm Dan Marlowe. I'm the Executive Director of Help and Hope Center here in Castle Rock. We have seen about 109 homeless folks who self-identify as homeless in the past year. Half of those are transitory. In other words, they're on their way either north or south, and they stopped here, or they got stuck here for a day or two or whatever, and they heard about us. Our main service that we provide is food. If folks are hungry or they're out, we will give them food from our food pantry. If the weather is getting cold enough to be dangerous, we will. We have a limited number of hotel vouchers that we can get people in out of the cold. But one of the main things we do now is we contact the Har Team and ask for them to come and offer additional services more than we can provide to those folks. And the Har Team is great. They show up pretty quick and take it from there. And it's been a wonderful partnership. So you want more than that?
Dan, that's perfect. I know we want to, you have a lot more and you do a lot in our community. So thank you for sharing a little bit more about community services and communication, the last two C's. But we want to get back to citizen questions. So I'd like to turn it over to Commissioner Thomas.
Would you mind if I just had the county attorney clarify a question that we had, and then I'll go out to the hearing room. The last caller said that her husband is a contractor. He sees lines of migrants at Lowe's and Home Depot. His question is, can he hire those individuals? And I'd like to let Jeff answer that question.
If those individuals are here as illegal migrants and they do not have the proper work visas, no, you cannot. It would be unlawful for you to do so. That being said, there are people here who are migrants and are here legally, and it's perfectly acceptable to ask for that information.
Well, and I'll add to that, our work with metro area county commissioners and the mayor of Denver is in an effort to be collaborative and address this issue in the best way that we can. And when there are bipartisan solutions, we want to support that. And the mayor has indicated a willingness to provide work authorization. We're big believers in work and giving people that opportunity for self-reliance. So we are partnering in the community around work authorization.
And who has a question? Thank you.
It's okay.
But I am concerned. My son is a Denver cop. I go on ride-alongs with him all the time. One day a week, he has to go to the migrant hotel and deal with these people. I went down there. I wanted to talk to the migrants. These people are very, I don't know what the word is, not appreciative. And I don't want to see what's happening to Denver happen here, because that means I put my house up for sale. I go to Denver a lot with my son, but it's a shame. And I want to see, are we going to be like Monument and say that we are not a sanctuary city, or that we're going to stay, okay, I'm done.
So just to address a little bit of that, when you talk about Monument putting up that they're not a sanctuary city, I saw them do that resolution. It's about a month ago now. We passed that through in October. So, we do not consider ourselves, I know I'm paraphrasing, we do not consider ourselves above federal immigration law. We believe we should be partners. We have actually directed the county attorney to sue the state, because there are two laws at the state level right now that prevent our local law enforcement agencies, these good people you see right over here, your husband, from working with federal immigration authorities when a person's illegal immigration status has been identified. We don't think that's right. We've already given direction to our county attorney right here to file those lawsuits. I think he's going to say he's still working on it. That's okay, because we want him to get it right, and we want to be able to overturn these laws that, in my opinion, hamstring these good people right here, Chief McIntosh over there, from being able to help our federal immigration authority partners in order to keep our community safe and address this tidal wave that we've seen coming across the southern border. And, well, I can talk for a while about this, so I'm going to stop, though. But I hope, ma'am, that addressed your concerns that you just voiced. Ma'am, none of us on this panel want to happen, what is happening in Denver, want it to happen here, I assure you.
Hi, my name's Janice Fredrickson, and I'm from Parker, and I go to Crossroads Church. And yes, I commend you people for what you do with the care and everything of these people. We have very little recidivism on the homeless that are citizens in this state. We used to do the Homeless Women's Network, 7, The Rock, Crossroads, Southeast, Cherry Hills, and feed them, take care of them, give them, but we're still giving vouchers, we're still giving cash cards, we're still helping.
And do you have a question?
No, I just wanted to say you guys are doing a great job, and we're very proud of what's going on here. Taking care of Douglas County.
Okay, thank you. We have one more question here.
Hi, my name is Jerry Witt. I live in Franktown. And, a question comes up for me, okay, you identify these illegal aliens, but what do you do with them? I mean, so, and you don't lock them up, do you?
Is that your question, Chief?
Yeah, I can certainly take that. No, we don't lock them up. Law enforcement has kind of been mentioned. When we come in contact with anybody in our community, we do not, nor can we, ask of their immigration status to figure out whether they're here legally or they're not here legally. Our role is enforcement of the law. So if there's a law that's been broken, then we take action. If not, then it was a pedestrian contact or a traffic contact, and we go about our day. If there was a law broken, if they were arrested, and if they go to our jail, it is at that point that we would then determine and find whether they are here legally or illegally. Correct.
And that's part of what we're working on, what we've directed the county attorney to deal with, because right now, the chief did a great job. Chief, I appreciate you picking up the flag and being put on the spot there. But I think you all could understand there was time when he had to stop and talk about the what next. And what next happens in other states is that as soon as that illegal immigration status for that individual who committed a crime and could be legally detained under the laws of Colorado, well, then they make contact with the federal immigration authorities and seek guidance and probably cooperate. And it might end up with that individual being taken to a federal immigration detention facility to where then the federal immigration authorities can take care of them. Right now, we're barred, our law enforcement agencies at the local level in Colorado are barred from taking that last step. That's what we're going to sue the state on, and we're going to seek to have those laws overturned so that, no, like other states, we will finish that process. We will put that individual who has an illegal immigration status in federal custody and allow the federal immigration authorities to be able to do their jobs.
And I understand that Roger has a polling question now, Roger?
I do indeed, Commissioner. Thank you. It is easy to participate. All you have to do is use your telephone keypad to enter the number of your response. And if you're participating online, just click your response. And if you're here in the audience, we are passing around ballots right now. Here's the question. Have you seen a reduction in panhandling in Douglas County over the last year? Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no, and press 3 if you're unsure. So again, have you seen a reduction in panhandling here in Douglas County? 1 is yes, 2 for no, and 3 if you're unsure. We'll report the results after we take a few more questions, and I'm going to pass it to Commissioner Layden.
Yep, my favorite part, which is hearing more from the citizens, and I know that we have a phone question. Roger?
We sure do. Pamela, it's your turn. Go ahead. Hello, Pamela. You're live with our audience.
Yes, hi. I was wondering, do you have any examples of where you have implemented the camping being enforced and a story about that? Has anyone actually been charged with it?
So I'll turn that over to Chief McIntosh.
To my knowledge, nobody has been charged with a camping ban at this point. As I spoke earlier, we've done a really good job of getting compliance just by informing them of the ban itself, and then offering them the different resources that we would have available to us and to them.
Thank you, Chief. We have a question in the audience. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Teresa Kramer. I live in Parker, and I'm interested in knowing what you are doing, Douglas County is doing for the work authorization, working in partnership. I'm currently working with Denver Catholic Charities and their legal clinics to get people their TPS and work permits. I personally paid for a TPS and work permit for a single Venezuelan mom of 3. I'm just offering that, not just that we all get to the point where we say, what can we do? I think the people I have met, the migrants I've met, I've had a different experience than some other people. They want to work. And so in order to, and that process is not easy and it's expensive, $548 for one person to get a TPS and a work permit, and it takes several months. What do they do in the meantime? So I just encourage, and then I want to know what we're doing to partner with that, because there are many clinics that Denver is doing and taking volunteers, as well as Denver Catholic Charities.
So as your commissioner in District 1, I just want to say thank you, because you're a doer, and that's how we are in Douglas County. And for you to work with our faith-based partners and go out there and try to make a difference, I really appreciate that work. Let me turn it over to Sasha Easton with 80 Works, and then maybe Tiffany. Sasha.
Thank you for your question. I'm also a resident of Parker, so I appreciate you. Arapaho Douglas Works, we partner with the Office of New Americans at the state level. They're working to expedite the work authorization process for individuals seeking that. And so we're also part of a statewide task force serving new Americans and newcomers, as well as individuals that are migrants. And so it's a mixture of community-based organizations, the local workforce centers, the Office of New Americans. And so we partner with them. And then recently, and I have Jamie Fisher, our business services manager, joining, but we hosted a job fair in partnership with Denver County for new Americans, and we had over 600 attendees with work authorization in attendance. So it's a work in progress, but it's a real collaboration, as we've been speaking about.
Can you tell Sasha Easton's from Douglas County too? Additional questions here in the gallery. I always like to honor the folks that took the time to be here in the room with us in person. Anybody here? Comments? Yes, sir.
I'd like to ask you what you're going to do or what you plan on doing when a busload of illegal aliens roll up to town, start unloading the illegal aliens. What's going to happen to them? Anything?
Oh, we love that question. That's a commissioner.
Let's get the white elephant out in the room here.
Yeah,
Oh, we have an
and
answer.
Thank you for that question. And so next Tuesday, we are going to hold a special business meeting, because we're going to adopt an ordinance that addresses that problem straight on. And so what are we going to do? Number one, when Chief McIntosh and his team get on site, we're going to arrest that driver. Number one, we're going to seize that bus. We're working with the sheriff's department that they're going to bring along their own bus. We're going to count the individuals off that bus that we're going to be dumped here in the county. It'll be a $1,000 fine per person and per passenger on that bus that was intending to drop them here in Castle Rock, maybe in Lone Tree, up at the Cabela's. Then we're going to seize that bus. We're going to drive it to the sheriff's department's impound lot. And you know what? If the bus company does not respond to pay that fine, we're probably going to sell that bus along with all the drug dealers, sports cars, and boats that the sheriff's department has seized up until that point. We're adopting that ordinance next week to address that very situation. And I don't know, there's about a lot of nuances there. If they pay their fine, we'll give them their bus back. But the bottom line,
Passengers on the bus.
well, the passengers on the bus, we'll take them to a shelter in Denver that is willing to accept migrants. We'll, quite frankly, well, based on the research we did, we'll take them, sir. We'll take them as far as you want us to pay gas to take them. We'll take them to New York City. We'll take them to LA. We're probably going to start in Denver, though, and find them a shelter that will accept them as a part of knowing that they have an illegal immigration status. And that's what we're going to do.
How do we do that when you can't ask them that question?
We are, well, I think we're going to ask them that question. And more specifically, the question is, how do we know that's happening? We're going to have a citizen probably report that there's a bus of people being dropped off at the Cabela's parking lot. They're being dropped off at golly, at one of the churches here in the county. When we get that report, that's how we know to initiate.
And so how's that, sir? Are we making progress here? So if Governor Abbott can bus people here, we can bus them back. How about that? Another question in here. We have an online question.
We do. This one comes from Nancy. She asks, are some of the homeless minors? If so, how are they being serviced? And is there evidence of child trafficking here in Douglas County? And how is that trafficking monitored?
Well, that's a great question. And I know there are a number of our panelists that could probably speak to that. We do have a member of the DA's office here with us tonight and want to welcome Aurora Ogg and our district attorney representative. I don't know if you all had any comments for us on that level.
So as far as that second part about human trafficking, there is, at the DA's office, we do have a specific prosecutor that is assigned to specifically handle human trafficking throughout the 18th Judicial District, so Arapaho, Douglas, Elbert, and Lincoln County. I know that prosecutor works closely with the Douglas County Sheriff's Office and all of our law enforcement partners on that.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I also want to not only thank the district attorney's office and John Kellner, but my colleagues on the Board of County Commissioners and our entire county, because we have actively made human trafficking a priority for us, to the point where it's not just platitudes, it's not just a proclamation on a particular day, but we are actively running a bill this session with the legislature that has now become a Colorado Counties Incorporated bill, which means all of the counties that are members of Colorado Counties Incorporated are in a bipartisan way supporting this Douglas County initiated bill. And the focus is to ensure that massage parlors, which have become a hotbed of human trafficking, are addressed, and they have background checks, both state background checks and federal background checks. Now, we support business in Douglas County. Most massage parlors are doing the right thing, but we do know that the evidence has shown that these are places where underage foreign nationals are living, being trafficked, don't know they're being trafficked, and forced into a life of sometimes prostitution and other things that are really negative in our community. So we're running that bill. It's actually in committee on Tuesday next week. I'll be testifying. Pray that it gets out of committee. Roger?
Thank you. Here are the results of our first polling question. We asked, have you seen a reduction in panhandling in Douglas County over the last year? I think you're going to be happy with these results. 59% said yes, 27% said no, and 15% said unsure. You don't see 59% folks agreeing very often. So good job, commissioners. And I think it's back to Commissioner Teal for the next segment.
Thank you, Roger. Appreciate that. Folks, just a reminder for everybody joining us on the phone, if you have a question, please dial *3 on your phone and to submit a question to be asked. So we're going to roll back on to the migrant crisis discussion. And sir, there was an element that I missed out on in answering your question of what happens if a bus rolls up and starts dropping people off. And Jeff reminded me of a detail that actually goes to your question. But Jeff, go ahead and explain to everybody, what is the nature of the violation of that ordinance, please?
Sure. So the county, in taking action to address this and regulate busing with regard to undesignated destinations, it's not a immigration or migrant issue. It's that a bus is stopping at an unscheduled destination to unload. And the reason why this ordinance comes about is because there's a county south of Chicago that had the same problem, that buses that were meant to go to Chicago, and because there's regulations in place, they were dropping off the individuals before they got to their destination. So we want to make sure that if their destination is Denver or anywhere else other than Douglas County, you cannot drop them off here. So we're not making an immigration issue, we're making it a regulation of transportation issue. So we don't have to get into the issues about, can we ask your immigration status or other things like that. And we have to be creative. I mean, we have to be really honest about this. There's a lot of people that we're working against because they don't want those kind of regulations. And we're doing our absolute best to make sure that those regulations are in place.
Thank you very much, Counselor. So I would like to turn to Dan McCulkey, our Director of Human Services. And Dan, when we first talked about, well, what would happen if we do have these migrants coming into our community? They have an illegal illegal immigration status. They're undocumented. They have put in an application for asylum, but they have not yet been awarded. And you brought to the awareness of the commissioners some of the challenges that we would have from a human services approach. I wonder if you could share some of those details, please.
Absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner. Dan McKelkey from Department of Human Services. It's a pretty simple answer, and I'm asked this pretty regularly. The government assistance programs that are offered by the Department of Human Services per federal law can only be offered to people who are here legally or are U.S. citizens. They cannot be offered to anyone that's not in a legal status. So the question earlier of, is the county draining services offering service to people who are undocumented? Not the governmental ones. Now in Denver, they're offering services through the Denver County General Fund, but all of the governmental assistance programs per federal rule can only be offered to people who are here legally or are U.S. citizens.
All right. Thank you very much, Dan. And then Jen Eby with Community Services. Can you tell us the perspective and how do we see an intersection with the work that the Har Teams are doing and any undocumented illegal aliens coming in, or don't we? Is it completely separate? I wonder if you could tell us that, please.
Sure, Commissioner. Jennifer Eby with Douglas County. Just to answer that question, the amount of individuals that are migrants that HART has interacted with has been quite low. What we have seen in just the month of February was a total of 13 migrants. So that was the highest amount that HART has interacted with. So it is quite low, as I said. And before that was isolated to just a few really here and there.
Okay. Thank you, John. So Mike, going to you. Back to Chief McIntosh. You could tell we like Mike a lot. Chief, from a law enforcement perspective, are you guys seeing a lot of undocumented illegal immigrants in the course of your law enforcement duties?
Yeah, thank you. As mentioned before, we're actually not able to ask somebody's immigration status when we come in contact with them. So we are seeing a little bit in traffic stops. And that conversation may come up organically, but it's not from a question that we've asked. We're seeing a few, but really very, very limited. And we're really not seeing any that are involved in criminal action that would cause them to go to our detention facility. So it's tough to really quantify because we're not able to ask that question. I would say that there are some, just like what Jennifer said, but it's very limited that we're coming in contact with.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Abe, I think you wanted to add something there.
Well, I just wanted to highlight the reason that Douglas County is getting so involved in the migrant crisis. And folks across the aisle all define it as a crisis from here to Denver. Again, it's 40,000 people, twice the size of the city of Louisville, in a place where 5,000 homeless could not have been dealt with well, and the resources were lacking. And again, $120 million for city and county of Denver. And we know that Denver is, now cutting local services for residents as a result of that incredible cost. So for us, we're being aggressive and being clear that we are not a sanctuary county, and encouraging folks to adopt that around the region. I'm really pleased that both of my commissioner colleagues have joined in that call, because it's significant when people at the border and in Texas think that Denver is a sanctuary, and they get here and it's ice cold and freezing and there's no place to go. That is not compassionate. So we're going to continue to get to work on this. And I know Commissioner Thomas probably has more.
Thank you, Commissioner Layden. We have, as Douglas County Commissioners, have looked at what is going on in Denver. We see that they are moving resources that are supposed to be going to citizens to take care of migrants. And in Douglas County, we are very concerned about making sure that we continue to serve our citizens. Another question that we have had is about public health. Douglas County left Tri-County Health, and we have our own Douglas County Health Department. Last fall, Denver put several migrants in Adams County without Adams County's knowledge. After that, the Adams County Health Department passed a public health order that had several requirements that needed to happen before any migrants were moved into Adams County. We looked at what Adams County did, and then the Douglas County Board of Health adopted a very similar order in December. And then just this month, we made that order permanent. It's on our Douglas County website, but what I can tell you is it says before any migrants come into Douglas County, the agency that is bringing them here 7 days before they get here has to give us information on every single individual, including their name and what countries they came through. The purpose of this is because we know that people that come from other countries don't have the same health care system and prevention in place that we have here. They don't have the same vaccinations. And we want to know who's coming here because we want to know what communicable diseases they might bring. There was a chickenpox outbreak in a shelter in Denver where migrants were. There was recently an outbreak of measles in a Chicago shelter. We have seen meningitis cases and tuberculosis cases in Denver. And so we have this additional order in place in Douglas County about migrants, again, because they bring communicable disease. And we have a public responsibility to keep all of you safe. And that is what our Board of Health did just this month. Commissioner Teal and I both sit on that 5-member board. Thank you, Commissioner Layden.
All right. Well, good job, Commissioner Thomas and Commissioner Layden and everybody during that segment. One of the key messages we do want to share with everyone when we talk about the migrant crisis, we don't have conclusive data. And I think we've heard from Chief McIntosh as well as others that really nailing down that data is difficult in our current legal situation. ID is needed for county services to be used, as we heard from Director McCulkey. And so nonprofits who are helping out, we do ask that if the nonprofits to use county funding primarily for residents, not for migrants, just because of these difficulties and obstacles we have to provide those services here in the county. I'm going to pass it over to Commissioner Thomas, and she's going to tell you more about the actions that we're taking here in response to the migrant crisis. Commissioner.
Thank you. I think the county attorney already explained the busing question. Do you have anything else to add to that, Jeff? Do you have anything else to add?
I do think that I will tell you that we've been more active than any other county in Colorado. The commissioners have asked Denver to repeal some of the misguided or misleading legal stances that they've taken throughout the years that may make people think that they are a sanctuary city. They've done the public health order. They've passed a resolution stating that we are not a sanctuary city. But recently, they've asked to engage my office to sue the state. And for part of that is because in 2019, the state passed a law called House Bill 2019-1124. And then last year they passed House Bill 23-1100, which prohibits the sheriff's department or law enforcement across the state from cooperating with the federal government in civil immigration orders. They've prohibited the judicial offices, probation offices from sharing information with the federal government. And they've prohibited the counties, local governments from entering agreements with the federal government to support them in immigration enforcement. We believe this is illegal, and we will be taking action about that. But it's also something that we've received a lot of calls about. So once the commissioners asked our office to do that, numerous other counties have said, hey, we want to do that too, and we want to support that too. We want to cooperate with the federal government in this crisis. And so it's very nice to be a part of a county that's really leading the way and doing more than other counties are.
I'll just ask the Director of Human Services, Dan McKelkey, is there anything else you'd like to add to this conversation?
No, I think I covered it.
Great. I think that Roger has a polling question for us.
I sure do. Again, it's easy to participate. All you have to do is use your telephone keypad to enter the number of your response, or click your response online, or fill out a ballot that is being circulated now. Here's the question: should local law enforcement be legally allowed to cooperate with federal law enforcement on issues of immigration? Press 1 for yes, 2 for no, and 3 if you're unsure. Let me read it again, hopefully correctly this time. Should local law enforcement be legally allowed to cooperate with federal law enforcement on issues of immigration? 1 for yes, 2 for no, or 3 if you're unsure. We'll report the results after we take a few more questions. And Commissioner Layden, it's back to you.
Roger, thanks so much. Any other questions in the room tonight? Yes, sir.
That ordinance, I'm not clear. Is that a city ordinance or is it a county ordinance countywide?
That is a county ordinance being passed by your Board of County Commissioners, sir. All right. Additional questions in the room? Okay. Oh, yes. Councilmember Hefta.
I didn't want to, I wanted to address the camping ban a little bit, if I could. So not really a question. In Alberta, Canada, you know, if you've been studying or watching anything on Alberta, Canada, and any of the homeless issues happening in Canada, there was tent cities allowed, and thousands of people came, and they cleaned up 49 encampments recently in Alberta, Canada. What happened in these tent cities is they turned into, I quote, gang-run drug camps with human trafficking and prostitution, and illegal gangs from different countries came in and took over the camps. So one thing to keep in mind is, while we think always is very compassionate to allow people to camp, what we don't realize is these camps grow, and then they start to become controlled by gangs, illegal gangs, and all types of criminal behavior starts happening in the camp. And I think what this homeless team is doing is addressing this matter one step at a time to stop this from happening in Douglas County. So I really want to commend this homeless team, Abe Layden, George Teal, Commissioner Thomas, and everybody on the team for doing a phenomenal job of taking this issue one step at a time to address it, to make sure it doesn't snowball into something that gets out of control. They're putting in the right laws, the right ordinances, thank you, County Attorney, to address this matter every day.
Well, how about a round of applause for Laura Hefta? I was on the phone with your mayor yesterday with Jeff Toborg, and he was talking about how phenomenal you've been in this space and how Parker has reduced a lot of the camping, especially with businesses that have signed a trespass letter, places like Safeway and Lowe's that do not no longer allow camping in their parking. I think we have a phone question. Roger?
Sure do. It's from Colleen. Go ahead. You're live with our audience.
Thank you very much for holding this meeting. This is very valuable information. My question is this. So I observed just a few weeks ago in Parker Safeway what appeared to be a family, husband and wife holding a baby sitting on a kitchen chair, two other young children with them, holding their sign, of course, asking for donations. What action should I take when I observe that situation?
You know, ma'am, thank you so much for joining us. And again, we're going to ask you to call our Har Team, our homeless engagement resource team. That's for you. And really anybody that answered that poll that said they're still seeing panhandling or people that are unhoused, especially you, please call our Har Team at 303-660-7301. Again, 303-660-7301. Thank you, ma'am. I think we have another phone question.
We do. Let's hear from Kate this time. Kate, go ahead.
Hi, Kate Dalton. I live in Roxborough, so just made it into Douglas County, thankfully. But just wanted to take a moment. My profession is in technically the banking industry and consulting for a large organization, and we have had an opportunity across North America, but primarily the U.S., to assist states through the COVID crisis around the homeless issues that were the number of states were impacting. And I just want to, like has been previously said, take a moment to acknowledge how impressed I am with the approach that Douglas County is taking, not only to be compassionate, but also to ensure that we're creating the opportunity to build a self-sustainable community regardless of situation. Just one perspective I wanted to offer is that when it comes to not only the migrant issue and situation, whether we believe it's a crisis or not, there's another parallel issue around affordable housing. And I only bring that up because affordable housing does not work if we do not help the homeless become educated and learn to be financially self-sustaining so that they can build wealth for themselves and their family. So it's not just a matter of, it certainly is, an impact to the camp and the descriptions that we've heard of what can happen there, but it becomes much more systemic than that. And you are protecting our society, you're protecting the frameworks that we need to be productive, and I appreciate that. The last thing I'll comment on is, I kid you not, I've thought of moving. I'm probably not the only one who has thought of that, but just up the road in Lakewood, I am not impressed with what's happening in Jefferson County, where I used to live. And there is a natural concern about that, but you have restored my confidence in Douglas County and in the possibility that we might be able to influence and impact other counties, not only within Colorado, but beyond. So thank you for your service and your leadership. That's
Okay.
all.
Thank you so much for that. And thank you for the thanks, but we refuse to take credit. If you can see in this room, we are surrounded by experts and partners across the spectrum that have really made this possible. And it's really citizens like you that have engaged with us and allowed this to occur. One of those partners, I just would like to allow to answer on that question, Artie Lyle and Maria Chano from the Housing Authority.
Thank you for your question and your comments about affordable housing. We at the Douglas County Housing Partnership have for the last 21 years worked on a variety of issues related to affordable housing. And as it comes down to dealing with the homeless population, that's not one of the areas that we specialize in, but we do counsel. We partner with our nonprofit partners and have for years as they bring forward with their case managers. We will provide them with financial coaching and counseling, housing counseling, and we work well with our DC Cares program to provide transitional services and transitional housing. And those families succeed, and then we are able to navigate them to one of our affordable units. And we develop and work in a full spectrum of affordable housing for those who are senior citizens and are on fixed income, to those who are almost middle income and just looking to fill in some gaps. We even offer assistance for home ownership. So we work on the full spectrum of housing, and we have a number of success stories that I could brag about for hours of folks that hit rock bottom and then ended up in home ownership thanks to our services.
Thank you, Artie, one of our great partners. I think we have one last phone question.
We sure do. This one comes from Sue. Sue, go right ahead. You're live with our audience.
Thank you for holding the meeting. It really has been very helpful. My question is more of a general homelessness question. In Castle Rock, where I live, there's a local church that's trying to create a housing development specifically aimed at homeless. And the neighborhood that they're doing this in is pretty united that they don't want that to happen. Is there something the Douglas County Commissioners are doing or can do to help prevent something like that?
You know, thank you for that question. And ma'am, unfortunately, we are not the municipality of Castle Rock, although we have a commissioner that spent much of his career there. This is the Douglas County government, and we have a great partnership with Castle Rock. What we often hear from in our Douglas County Homeless Initiative are from Castle Rock citizens, and I see a few of them here tonight. So we do listen. Mayor Jason Gray from Castle Rock is on that homeless initiative. And is a great sounding board for those issues. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it's if I could, Abe, that's something that I've been following. I do live in Castle Rock. I used to be a member of the Castle Rock Town Council, and I've fielded the same question from many people who remember my time on the Castle Rock Council. And there's really nothing we can do once you cross into Castle Rock. Castle Rock is a home rule municipality. They have that full authority, that full jurisdiction to hear the request from the Rock Church to proceed with their homeless residential housing option. I think it's the right way to say it. And personally, I'm opposed. I don't think it's the right solution in the right place. It's in the middle of the Meadows neighborhood. We've talked about if it was only closer to I-25, it was only closer to the downtown area, maybe there would be some feasibility. But, and just expressing my own personal opinion, I just don't think it's the right place for that sort of option for the church to offer.
Roger.
Hey, here are the results of our second polling question. We asked, should local law enforcement be legally allowed to cooperate with federal law enforcement on issues of immigration? Probably no surprise, 81% said yes, 7% said no, and 12% were unsure. And I'll hand it back to Commissioner Teal for some closing remarks.
Hey, thank you very much, Roger. Appreciate your help tonight. And I want to say thank you to everybody who came and joined us on the phone and joined us online. Obviously, tonight was a night where we wanted to share some of the success we've had in the homeless space, and also have a really good discussion with you about the continuing challenges that we're seeing with migrant issues. Some that we do see here in Douglas County, but then of course the migrant issues that we see up in areas like Denver and other metropolitan areas in the country that we really do want to avoid. I hope we have given you guys confidence that this is something we are addressing, we are leaning forward into. We've got great legal staff working on it. And of course, we have great confidence in the Douglas County Sheriff's Office to come alongside and join us when it comes time to gain the ability to have enforcement capabilities. Again, thank you all for coming tonight. Your voice is important. We really appreciated hearing it. I'm going to turn it over to Commissioner Layden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, tonight is about celebrating you, the citizens of Douglas County, our partners. This was a group effort, and we're meeting it with a lot of success. But we are not going to let up until we get to functional zero and continue to honor the trust that you've placed in us as your elected officials. I also really would just like to honor the amazing members of our Har Team. We have 2 new members of our team that's gone from 5 to 3. Thank you so much for joining us. I know more to come and more conversation, and also want to recognize the reintegration folks that work at our jail to ensure that those that are justice involved don't end up walking out under a bridge, but have resources towards self-sufficiency once they leave Castle Rock. So thank you so much. Commissioner Thomas?
Thank you. I'd like to thank everybody online, everybody here in the room, because this is a community conversation that we all need to be a part of. I mean, we need to face it. This is an emotional issue for a lot of people because we really are dealing with real people in need. We also have a responsibility, Commissioner Layden, Commissioner Teal, and myself, to ensure the health, safety, and welfare of the 375,000 people who call Douglas County home. And that's why we're doing this balance to ensure your public health, the health of our community, and yet make sure that people who do need help are taken to shelters where they can get help. What I heard is a lot of questions, people wanting to know what is it that their county government is doing. And I hope that you heard from us that we are being responsive and balancing that act with our prime reason, our prime purpose of keeping each and every one of you safe. Thank you for tuning in. More will be going on with this. You can always check our website, Douglas County, for more information about the public health order and other orders that we have issued. I'd like to tell you all thank you, good night, and God bless.
Thank you. On behalf of Douglas County, thank you for joining us this evening. If we did not get to your question, we invite you to submit feedback anytime at douglas.co.us/town hall. We hope you'll join us again for a future town hall, and we wish you a good night.